Hello, everyone. Welcome to International Education Week, and we are the Office of Global Education. We want to talk to you about how you can internationalize your Hartwick education. I'm Dr. Sagasti Supis.
I'm Caitlin Huema.
And we have several things to talk to you about today. So first, what does the Office of Global Education do? We do a lot of different things. We work with the admissions office to bring more international students to Hartwick. And once they arrive, we help them with things like orientation and sessions on how to keep up their visas and helping them with transportation or whenever they need help understanding the US higher ed system. We give students opportunities to engage with the world from on campus through programming and events such as Taste the World or workshops that we have on all the time. We just celebrated the Mid-Autumn Festival earlier this semester. So we have a lot of different fun interactive programming that we do. And we support faculty in creating and running off-campus J-term courses. And we also help students like you find the right study abroad opportunities for you. So study abroad. Why should you study abroad and what are you going to gain from it? You're talking to two people who have studied abroad and who worked abroad. So we obviously believe that it's a really important thing. So let's start with what types of programs are there? At Hartwick, you can study abroad through the J-term with a faculty member and your peers. You can study abroad through our partners for a semester, for a year, for a summer. You can do research, you can take classes, you can do internships. There are a lot of different types of programs, and you just need to talk to us about which one fits you best. For study abroad, you don't have to limit yourself to one experience. You can go on a J-term and then spend a semester abroad. There are a lot of different things you can do. And then, as I mentioned, you can go in January, summer, semester, or for a year. So Caitlin, why should you go abroad?
So going abroad is definitely something I recommend doing while you're a college student. It's a great time to go and you can develop new skills, learn about other cultures, and you can gain like language skills if you're going to study in another country, but you can also take classes in English and then maybe like get to know the language and culture by living with the host family or doing an internship in that culture. So a lot of people I've talked to, they said that their biggest regret is not having studied abroad while they're a student. So I really encourage you to take advantage of this and you'll have lots of unforgettable experiences.
And we have a lot of ways that you can fund your study abroad. So Hartwick offers scholarships like the Emerson and Duffy scholarships, J-term scholarships, but we also have access to federal scholarships such as the Gilman and the Boren and the critical language scholarships. So there are a lot of different things. They're competitive, but we can help you be competitive in applying for those. You can also look at your financial aid because a lot of study abroad programs, especially semester-long programs, are less expensive because colleges in other countries tend to be less expensive than the US. So your financial aid a lot of times will just cover your study abroad. And Caitlin, do you want to talk about what we're doing this week with International Education Week?
So on Wednesday, November 17th, we're going to be having 4 of our students that were recipients of the Emerson Scholarship. They'll be talking about their experience interning for various different international organizations and then also an organization in San Francisco. So these students, they 3 of them, actually, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they still wanted international experience, but they weren't able to travel abroad. So instead they did a virtual internship. So that's also an option if you're unable to leave the country. And then another student, Diego, he interned at an organization that's actually a Hartwick alum is working there and helped him get a job there because they really loved his work. So yeah, I encourage you to come. And if you're watching this afterwards, we'll have it recorded and you can watch it on your own time.
Oh, So we have several opportunities on campus for interacting with the world as well. Caitlin, do you want to explain the Cyrus Mary Fellowship since you've been working the closest with that?
Yes, so Cyrus Mary Fellowship, this is a fellowship that was developed by the alum Cyrus Mary, who's a famous lawyer, and he gave these funds to students that they could develop on-campus programming to try to help Hartwick students understand like another part of the world or somewhere like build understanding. So this year we had Ankita Bal, she's our Cyrus Mary Fellow, and she's from India. So she's been doing all sorts of fun and interesting programming, educating the campus about India. So we had a fun Diwali festival, and we also watched a documentary about the political system. So this is up to $2,000 that you can use, and then you also work with a faculty mentor, and they'll receive a stipend of $750.
We also have a Global Ambassadors program, and on the lower right, you can see two of our great global ambassadors. That program allows returning students to support new incoming students that are coming from different parts of the world. Because they're coming to a different part of the world, it's sometimes a lot of challenge. They can't go home for the weekend. They have fewer resources here than students who are from the US. So it's really important to help them and support them. So global ambassadors are here as part of their orientation, and then they spend the semester sort of helping them connect with the campus. They also help our office by organizing events, and this is a really great experience for them to do because this is something that it's one of those resume builders. You can learn a great deal through doing this type of work. And I'll just talk about participating in our events. We have a lot of different events throughout the year, and you can come, you can join us for some of the fun things like this weekend or this Friday night. We have, or 4:30 in the afternoon, so not really night. We have desserts from different parts of the world, and we're going to have karaoke in lots of different languages. We have fun things like that. We also have workshops for explaining our different scholarships or explaining how you can do internships abroad. There are a lot of different things you can do on campus. And then there's the Peace Corps Prep program, and we're going to spend a little time now talking about Peace Corps Prep because it's kind of a very big deal that Hartwick has it. The Peace Corps chooses a few campuses across the country, and Hartwick has the honor of being a Peace Corps Prep school. So first of all, what is the Peace Corps? Oh, there it is. So Caitlin, do you want to talk about the goals of Peace Corps?
Yeah, so Peace Corps has three main goals. The first one is to help the people of interested countries meet their need for trained men and women. So the US government chooses American citizens and sends them all over the world. We'll discuss a bit later about where they go. And then it's also to help promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the people served. And the third goal is to promote better understanding of other peoples on the part of Americans. So after the volunteers come back, then they give presentations like this, where we talk about our the host country that we served in and what we learned.
So this is actually part of Caitlin's and my third goals because we are returned Peace Corps volunteers. So what do volunteers do? There are different sectors in which volunteers can work, and it depends on your experiences thus far. So you would have been studying something within one of these sectors. And then the Peace Corps is going to give you some pretty intensive training so that when you start your job, you're able to go right into that position, and you're prepared in terms of language, in terms of understanding the culture, but also in terms of knowing what is expected of you in your job. So these are some of the areas where students or where Peace Corps volunteers work. They're not all students, and Peace Corps volunteers are all different ages. So where can you serve? Do you want to talk a little about that, Caitlin?
Yeah, so we have Peace Corps volunteers serve all over the world. You can see on the map, there are people in Latin America, in Africa, Asia, the Pacific, and Eastern Europe. So I went through a list of Hartwick alumni that have served in the Peace Corps, and there are some in Zambia, Morocco, Cameroon, Ukraine, etc. And we'll show you a few examples in later slides.
So
Okay.
Caitlin.
Yeah, so I was a Peace Corps volunteer. I served in 2016 to 2018, and these are a few pictures from my experience there. So I was an education volunteer. I taught at a Chinese university in Yibin, Sichuan, for 2 years, and yeah, you can see some of my students at the top. That was one of my largest classes. It's like 70 students, and then I also did like a cooking club at my apartment, and then the bottom left is my host family. As we like during the training period, most volunteers, they live with host families to help develop their understanding of the language and culture. And then one of my students, she invited me to spend Chinese New Year's with her and her family. So I got to visit her, and that's the right. And then another cool thing about Peace Corps is after you complete your service, you're eligible for various different fellowships and scholarships. So I was a Coverdell Fellow, which meant that a significant part of my graduate funding was through that, and I was able to meet lots of other RPCV or Return Peace Corps volunteer students. So that's in the bottom right. We were at a International Education Week fair, so we're all talking about our different countries that we served in.
There you go. So that's me, and I served in Morocco, and my sector was health and hygiene. And in the pictures you see at the bottom, I'm talking to women about birth control. And I spent about a month with another volunteer traveling through her site and mine. And we were teaching about birth control. The reason that we have little girls there is that I was taught Moroccan Arabic, and many of the women didn't understand that language because they spoke Tashelhait, which is a rural Berber language. So the little girls who had started school were actually translating from Moroccan Arabic to Derija for me. In some regions, I didn't need that, but in some villages, I did. In the left, you see me handing out toothbrushes and toothpaste. I got a grant to do a toothbrushing campaign. And so I that's in my own house, and I invited children from the village, and I taught them to brush their teeth and then let them go home with toothbrushes and toothpaste. And at the top right, that's me with two other Peace Corps volunteers, Sunita and Liz, and on a camel. Why? Because it's a silly tourist thing to do, and one should always try to do at least one silly tourist thing when you're traveling. It's just part of the excitement and fun of it. So let me see. I'm trying to, there we go. So this is one of Hartwick's alums who served in biology and in Malawi. I think that's a pretty cool picture actually with the monkey. And she now works for the EPA. And Caitlin.
Yeah, and then this is another volunteer or Hartwick alum that served in Peace Corps, and he was in the agriculture sector, and then now he's working for USAID. So hopefully we're going to be able to bring some of either these alumni or others back to campus for Peace Corps Week next year. So we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, Peace Corps Week is during the spring semester, so keep an eye out. So the Peace Corps Prep program, you don't need to, you're not committed to serving in the Peace Corps if you do Peace Corps Prep. And you don't have to be a US citizen like you do to be a Peace Corps volunteer. You can be an international student and participate in this. But it is a program that prepares students, not just for the Peace Corps, but for a really successful career in the future. So there are 4 core competencies. Caitlin, do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, so there's the first, you would pick which sector you would want to, like if you were to serve in the Peace Corps, what would align most with your interests and major. So if you're like an education major, it makes sense to choose the education sector. But if you're taking classes and other things, you can choose that. It's up to you. And then there's foreign language skills, intercultural competence, and professional leadership and development. So we'll go into each of those a little bit more. Go to the next slide. Yeah, so like I mentioned, there's the 6 different sectors, and you would take courses related to that sector. So like education classes or a lot of like nursing classes, they all count towards health, and a lot of business classes count towards community economic development. So if you have any questions, you can refer to the Peace Corps Prep Guide and also talk to us. And we also encourage, well, another requirement is the 50 hours of related work or volunteer experience. So any internship you do or practical training, like that can usually count. And most people that I've spoken with, they complete way more than 50 hours. So it's not too hard to accomplish. Next slide. Yeah. And then foreign language skills, this is actually optional. Peace Corps, they have, like if you want to serve in Latin America, they want you to have some previous Spanish knowledge. And then West Africa, it's good to know French. But anywhere else that you serve, they will teach you the language, although we definitely encourage you to take language classes anyway. But like, for example, in China, many of the volunteers I served with had no background in Chinese whatsoever. So it's possible to go abroad through Peace Corps without language skills, but we encourage you to take them if you can.
Well, and I will add that Peace Corps, although they don't require language, it is a really good thing on your application if you have taken a language, even if it's not the language of the country where you're serving, because it demonstrates an interest in learning languages and a facility for learning languages. Even if you didn't go very far in a language, at least it shows your willingness to try. So you do develop some intercultural competencies. And I'm going to let Caitlin talk about this because she's the one who does the majority of the Peace Corps prep advising.
Yeah, so there is one required class or one core course. It's the Intro to Global Studies or Cultural Anthropology. So if you're already in that class, then good for you. You're pretty much all set. You can choose like a couple other classes that like they're introspective. They help you learn about other cultures and reflect on your own culture. So if you take a class in like anthropology or sociology or history, or a lot of those would count. So definitely talk to us if you have any questions. And there's like a long list of classes in the Peace Corps Prep Guide. And then also if you do study abroad, either through a J-term program or semester, or if you do an internship, that can also count towards this requirement. Although please note that it must be a Peace Corps serving or a former Peace Corps serving country. So if you go to France or Italy, unfortunately that wouldn't count, but a lot of programs in, I guess, South Korea or China or Vietnam or in sub-Saharan Africa or Morocco or different places, those can all count. So you can like look at that list of, or the map of where Peace Corps has served at present and in the past, and then check there.
And we also can help you find some internships through a couple of our partners, and a lot of those internships are in Peace Corps serving countries.
Yeah, and you can also do like local internships if you're working with like refugees or immigrants. Like I know there's a refugee center in Utica, so if you go there and help out, that can definitely count as well. And then the last part is the professional and leadership development. And for this one, we work closely with the career development team. So in order to finish up the requirements, you would need to meet with your career coach and have them do a resume review and also a mock interview. You can also connect with our Peace Corps recruiter in the local area, Abby. She is also willing to talk to you and review resumes. So if you meet with her, that can also count. And then the last part is that you would need to have some sort of significant leadership experience, and a lot of, like if you serve on the e-board of a club, that counts, or if you've like planned a big event or just have some sort of leadership experience, and you can talk about it and like write a paragraph that is sufficient.
And then at the end, you get a certificate of completion and graduation, and a graduation cord for graduation day. The certificate of completion is signed by the director of the Peace Corps, which is pretty cool. And there we have some students who completed this program. And if you do the Peace Corps prep program, even if you don't become a Peace Corps volunteer, this is something that is another one of those resume builders. You're going to be able to talk about this in your interviews in the future for jobs. You're going to develop some skills that will be helpful to you in your future career or in graduate school. So it's a really great program to have. Caitlin, did you want to say anything more about it?
Well, if you do decide to apply for the Peace Corps, this will give you bonus points as well, because it can be a pretty competitive process. So like when you finish all the requirements, you fill out an exit checklist, and then that same checklist it can be uploaded onto your Peace Corps application. But most people, they recognize like the Peace Corps name. So even if you have just Peace Corps prep on your resume, that looks really good and can help you if you want to pursue an international career or any sort of career.
I've never had a job interview in which they haven't mentioned my Peace Corps experience. It's usually something people are impressed with. So if you want to learn more about our programs, you can find us on Hartwick Global Education. And if you want to talk about any of the things that we just talked about, study abroad, Peace Corps prep, Cyrus Mary, scholarships, any of these things, you can make an appointment on Navigate to meet with either me or Caitlin. And thank you for paying attention to our presentation. We hope we can help you internationalize your Hartwick education. And if you have any questions or needs, reach out.
Thank you.